All right, so good evening. We're going to record tonight because we're not only are we here today in person, but we're also going to be recording this for the community and post this on our website and also put this out on our Village Connect tomorrow as well. So welcome tonight. I'm Steve Williamson, the Village Manager, and we're going to talk to, you almost got that, didn't you, Katie? That was flashbacks to 10 years ago. We're going to talk about roads tonight, and we're going to talk about a lot of roads tonight. So we've already kicked off on many of our roads that we want to do in the village, but we have a lot more coming. As you know, we're looking at stormwater, upgrading stormwater. We're looking at our shoreline protection. We're looking at undergrounding our utilities as well. But also we want to make sure that we address everyday issues such as our roads. So I'm going to turn it over to our Public Works Director, Chris Miranda, and you take us from here. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, sir. So, as the manager said, I'm Chris Miranda, your Public Works Director. And yes, we have been doing a lot of work recently and in the past on the roadways and improving our roadways. We conducted what is called a PCI, or a pavement condition index of our roadways to find out what condition they were in, and it's not moving. Okay. I'm sorry. Well, okay. So let's back up a little bit. So introductions. We have at the helm over here on the computer, we have Savi Nasser, our village engineer. On this side, we have Colleen, who is our CIP grants manager and running some of our projects. She's acting project manager for a few projects. The manager already introduced himself, and I introduced myself, so I was going way ahead of where we were at. But we're going to go over the existing conditions, what we've accomplished, and our upcoming projects. So this are some pictures of what we've seen around the village. I know most of you have experienced driving over these, some potholes, some deterioration, especially in the brick paver sections of the speed tables or the speed humps, or some of our intersections that are just full brick pavered intersections. A lot of this is caused, yes, a lot of this is caused from multiple things, whether it's just the age of the asphalt, or actually, believe it or not, sea level rise is affecting asphalt. As sea level water table comes up, the water table, as it recedes down, it takes out the fines in the base. So it's not a stable base underneath the asphalt, and with the weight of especially what we've seen a lot of construction trucks driving throughout the village, it causes a lot of this damage. So this is what I was referring to, the pavement condition index that we did, the survey that we did throughout the village. And as you can see, the red lines show what streets were the poorest condition, the yellow are fair, satisfactory, obviously light green, and then the good ones are in green. This is what we have accomplished. Now, in the gray lines, these roads were repaved with the immediate flood control project that was done in 2024. And the green is what we've just recently accomplished over on Island Drive, Mariner, and Cape Florida Drive. And then this is a picture of some of our upcoming projects. Now you might ask, you saw previously in the PCI that Harbor Drive was in red. Why didn't we attack that? We have a project going on, a joint venture with the county, a joint partnership agreement to repave Harbor Drive. It's a little complicated because we're working with an outside agency who is funding this project. So we had to do a design to submit to them, which they are currently reviewing the designs. We've already received some comments, and we're working with them to get it approved because we're going to be spending their money. They are fronting $1.9 million to get Harbor Drive repaved. I went on ahead of myself here. Yes, so we'll be repaving all of Harbor Drive. We will be putting in $600,000, and as I said, Miami-Dade County is putting in $1.9 million. We are going to remove the pavers in the traffic circles, and we're going to redo the traffic circles. The county will not pay for pavers, so we're going to wind up putting in asphalt, and then we're looking at some features that we might use, such as stamped asphalt, which is doable, or there's some other things that we're looking at, kind of innovative in what we can do to design those traffic circles and make them stand out. We reached out to Locale and did asked them to do a sort of a conceptual for consideration for pervious asphalt and the traffic circle over in front of Crossbridge Presbyterian Church to see what could be done. And they provided us with some information. I'm going to turn this part over to Savy, who dealt with them and has more information on it.
Thank you, Chris. So I had spoken to, he's a landscape architect. He actually provided a very interesting design. It's going to be actually a pervious design instead of your typical asphalt design that we were used to seeing. And his idea would be that this would be, capturing all the inflows of rain or any kind of, what do we call it, high tides that we have king tides. Well, on top of the king tides, that's also high tides in general. But it would capture everything and kind of store it and keep it away from the main floor. So it's completely pervious. He actually wanted to do a whole presentation with the trucks being on top of it because it's supposed to sustain high vehicles in that nature and also be able to drain all the water. So you would be able to pump the water and it would go inside. So if you can continue to the next slide. This is sort of the idea of what we would be looking at. Obviously, this is a great design in concept, but it's also very expensive than your more traditional pavement. As you can see, it's 1.6 million is what he's proposing, and that's just for one traffic circle. So if we wanted to do this across the island, the anticipation is it would be very expensive.
So some of the other projects that we have ongoing are the traffic calming devices throughout the village, where we have either raised pavers, we have speed tables, we have a mix. We have the traffic circles, which we're seeing, as you saw in the pictures, a great deal of deterioration in the base work and in those pavers. So we are going to go back and we're going to wind up removing all the pavers. We're running into challenges in restoring the existing pavers where they're not fabricated anymore, or if we restore one section of it, it doesn't match because the color has deteriorated so far that we can't match the colors. So we're going to remove them, and again, we're either going to use stamped asphalt or an innovative concept for that design that's in there with the pavers. One of the other projects that we are working on are the existing golf cart cut-throughs, of which there are 4 on Fernwood Drive. Initially, they were great, they worked perfect, but we found that they are a bit small. Some of these are deteriorating. They've affected the sidewalk in some areas. So it's time to upgrade them and bring them into more of a compliance with what we're seeing, larger golf carts in the community. So this is what we are intending to do. We're going to put in a stop sign, a mirror to be able to see both ways, and the golf cart crossing sign for the traffic that runs up and down Fernwood. As I said, there are 4 up at the northern end of the island. We have one down here. This one is actually a concept right now. that we are going to be working on. That one's actually behind the Winn-Dixie parking lot. I died. Actually, I died because that's the last slide. But this will give you an idea of overall view of what we're working on for the future. So looking at FY27, what you see in purple is what we have slated currently for a repaving, and it shows the Holiday Colony roadways here, where we may in the future look at that again, because we may have a upcoming stormwater project coming in there. We're looking to try and go from the southern end. We've captured pretty much all the roadways in the southern end that were in a poor condition, and now we're going to look at the northern end and work our way south, so we'll be able to get everything in between. The middle section of the island, that is the Zone 1 area, so currently we're not working anything in that area until we see what the future holds with the stormwater projects that are coming up. After we finish the western side, all these roadways, we'll come back and we'll look at the eastern side. We have Ocean Lane Drive, Holiday Colony, and the Garden District to look at, plus the road. Well, that one's going to get done in 27. Fernwood, as you can see here, Fernwood Drive has been isolated, separate from our repaving project, because we're going to look at Fernwood as an overall project and maybe a full street design. We want to look at the curbs, the parking, the drainage, all the traffic circles, all of that. I'm going to, there's 2 circles down here towards the southern end that we're going to look at. We might go in there now and redo those because they're in such poor shape. We want to go back in there and see if maybe we can do some remediation in between, but if not, we'll have to remove the pavers and have that all redone in asphalt. Yes. Yes.
The speed tables that have pavers now that you're going to replace, will you be replacing those with asphalt also? And because they need to be longer, are you still going to have 4 on those 2 streets?
Wherever we have a speed table, we're putting one back in when we remove it. We will be removing the brick pavers. It's just not supported with the existing environment in the island. As I said, the water table rising and lowering. This is a common effect that's happened everywhere throughout the county. The design that we have currently on the speed tables is not up to what Dade County proposes as a speed table design. So we are going to restore it in asphalt, but visually, we're looking to change that effect, where we're either going to use, as I said, either stamped asphalt or the innovative design that we're looking to put in. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions and comments. On the circles, I keep having concerns about the plantings in there. They grow beautifully and then they obstruct the vision of the oncoming traffic, the people who are crossing in those areas, and I think we need to be very careful about that. I'm sure you're aware of that. One of the reasons that I, who am not an expert, think there's been deterioration in the circles is because there's a lot of force from traffic going in a circular motion, so it's not good. The pavers aren't conducive to that. Is the asphalt going to be better for that? Yes. Okay. And then the last question on Fernwood is the pictures that you showed with the golf cart cut-throughs, which are fantastic. The fact of having the cut-throughs are fantastic. But that's a lot of signs. First of all, are you going to have a stop sign at each of the 4? Or is this just like an overall concept?
This is more illustrative. This is kind of like, we wanted to show all the things we're looking at. We understand that this would be a crazy amount of signage for every single one. And this is obviously not to scale either, so this was more just to give you a demonstration. As you can see, we're widening the apron. So those longer carts tend to take a wider turning radius. We've been noticing they're kind of digging out the sides of those existing aprons, so we want to widen the apron And mostly we want to let cars know there's a golf cart crossing. There's ways to do that per standards that aren't so, in your face. But there might be a small sign, there might be striping. Xavier's going to look into that from an FDOT standpoint. And the stop sign is more, if there's a way we can get the golf carts to pause before they just enter Fernwood, that's the intent of a lot of this signage. Right, yeah, it's hard because we did it in PowerPoint, so there's not a lot of perspective. But it would be the golf cart sees the stop sign, the car sees the golf cart crossing, and the golf cart also sees the mirror if they need to for pedestrians that are coming across.
One other comment that we have as a very experienced golfer. These are narrow, and I suppose
Yeah.
that's because that's all we could get.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of times you're coming off of Fernwood, and you're trying to get in, and someone's coming out of the parking lot, and
You can't cross each other. Yeah, there's no
it's
space.
hard to see what's happening, and you've already committed, so someone's got to back up, and it's a little,
Well, maybe.
any opportunity to widen anything.
I don't think, we've talked about widening, and unfortunately, that's private property, so that's the issue. But the mirror, we can place the mirror situation potentially in coordination with the private property owners in a way that both sides, you could have one on one side, one on the other side, so they could see if a golf cart's coming. So that's kind of what the interest in the mirror is for. Do you wanna-
I can add to that as well. I think with widening, I can add to that as well, because with the widening of the aprons, you still have the ability to be able to at least pull in and then leave the other person to move out.
Okay, so how many circles do we have in Key Biscayne?
There was a total of 30, I think it's 38 total.
38 circles? No.
I think that's what we need.
There's no way we have 38 traffic circles.
I may be counting. Like traffic calming devices. Yes, I may be counting traffic calming devices.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you count Heather, that's 6. And I think there's 4 or 5 on Harvard.
I'll get you that count exactly.
Okay. My question really is this. If we're considering, the pervious installations that you were showing there close to the yacht club, and then you're also thinking about stamped concrete somewhere else, which of course is impervious, why don't we first do the pervious and see how it works? Because personally, I know that it's much more expensive, but I personally would much rather spend the money in pervious circles than in stamped concrete. It's just going backwards from where everybody else is going. Everybody else is trying to use landscaping and pervious concrete in order to deal with water issues. And then we're going to go backwards. We're going to take pavers, which are not very pervious, but at least they're a little bit more pervious than stamped concrete. It's just the opposite of what I think of the direction that we should all be going, especially when we're thinking about spending the amount of money that we're thinking about spending in storm drainage. Why can't we do that first and observe it before we spend money doing stamped concrete somewhere else? And then if that happens to work, I would put that in the worst circle that we have in the village of Key Biscayne, the one that gets the most water, and see how it would work there in terms of of helping the drainage before we spend money on impervious stuff. That's just my idea.
We're going to be presenting this to the council to see if there's an appetite for doing this, but it is costly, not to take that away. A standard traffic circle is approximately, it's under $100,000 to rebuild it.
I understand, but
So let me, to your point, so this traffic circle was selected because it's closest to the water, to the bay, and from what we were able to determine with the designer, there is some underground water flow that helped that circle function It may not function across the entire island, but that one in particular.
The deal is that circle in particular doesn't really flood that much. So, I'm sorry, that particular circle doesn't really flood that much. So, I mean, if we want to see whether something works, like this pervious concrete idea, which I think is magnificent, you know, along with a lot of the other ideas that Walter
Correct. Walter Mayer.
has, I would think that I know that Walter worked with you closely in order to pick that particular circle, but I'm not sure that he knew that one really doesn't flood.
Right.
There's no water issues there.
He selected, and we, in conjunction, we all got together and we selected this as a concept and a possible pilot project to see
It'll look
because
very
of
nice
its
and everything, but the idea is more than looking nice. The idea is for it to function as
Right.
a resiliency project.
But his design functions in part with what's underground. According to what he's explained to us, you have to have that underground natural water flow. If you don't have that, you could have the lowest circle, but if the water's not moving underneath it, if it's in the middle of the island and we don't have any flow, his design doesn't necessarily work. It does take water off the road and it brings it underneath, creating sort of a storage area somewhat. How much, I don't know. I don't have the calculations. We would have to get that designed and an engineer and calculated. But this was selected because, as you can see, he found a natural river flow, an old river flow that flowed underneath right here.
You should have
So,
told them that we don't have a problem there now. I mean, there's no need. I mean, it's nice that we have a river under it. Maybe that's why we don't have a problem. You know,
Could be.
But I'm saying, that's going to be very nice. It's going to look very pretty, but
no, but
the $1.6 million that we're spending on it, it's not really.
aside from the aesthetics, though, it's meant to help reduce in that area, correct? And I understand what you're saying. Yes, I did. I understand what you're saying.
We're just trying to get an example. We want to come in and do something for us to see what's that, sorry? We just want to get an example.
Right.
Get an idea of what it would look like, how much it would cost, and what we need to do.
Right.
Are you also looking at the areas that aren't traffic circles but are dividers? You know how we have.
Yes. Any location that has pavers. I had a slide, and I think it was further this way. Oh, there it is. So here on Island Drive, I haven't taken these pavers out, but this intersection, Island Drive and Mariner, is currently pavers. That's going to come out and be redone in asphalt. It's in very poor condition. Yes. Yeah. And then the divider, you can see on West Mash that has a divider. That divider will come out and be redone.
So, Island Drive doesn't flood either. The areas that flood are those areas.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you know, the Zone 1 area is our lowest lying area, and there are features in there. Currently, I'm not touching those until we see what we're doing with the drainage system in there. Once we find out what we're doing, then we'll go back and do those.
For you guys, please, to consider pervious stuff, pervious concrete and landscaping things, and not just put stamped concrete or asphalt down. I mean, we have an opportunity now, you know what I mean? Even if it costs us a little bit more money, let's do the right thing. You know, let's do the thing that they're doing everywhere else.
Yes.
You know, okay, let's just put stamped concrete down. You know, yeah, it's cheap, but I'd rather spend the money on this than spend the money on the other thing, which I'm not going to mention.
Okay. I heard you. Well, if there's no more questions, that's pretty much our presentation for roads throughout the village and what we're going to be doing. Yes, sir.
What's the timetable for Harbor Drive? Because in my opinion, that's a road that is, I mean, needs to be fixed the most.
Yes, what the timetable for Harbor Drive is. Because we have county funding with that, we are, hopefully, they told us they're going to put the joint partnership agreement on their BCC schedule for December. So once they approve that, we'll be able to execute the funding contract. At that point, we will bid it out. That'll take a few months. And then we'll have to bring it to council twice because it's over $500,000, and that's what our charter states. And then we'll be able to start. So if you kind of put that timeline together, we're looking like summer 2026 would be when we could start at the earliest. This coming summer, yeah. Great. I think we're done. Yeah, thank you. Yep, that's it. Just quick.
Coming out.